The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
This is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
it might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't
The
care.
BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. We have hijacked Jalen Rose from the Jalen Rose
And I
Show.
can still give the people what they want.
Your show runs on the Grantland Network, which is one of our podcast networks. This
It
is
does.
the BS Report, which is, I guess, its own network, even though it's one podcast.
For everybody out there, I've been upgraded today.
I don't
So
think
thank
it's an
you very
upgrade.
much.
I just think it's a different show. It's like going from Real Housewives of Orange County to Real Housewives of New York.
Okay.
But we're teammates now.
Yes, indeed.
We're going to be on this NBA show that ESPN
Very
and
excited.
ABC are having.
It's going to be a real good look.
It's really good.
I'm really excited about joining the show with yourself, Michael Wilbon, Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson, your idol.
My childhood idol. We're going to rattle some cages, Bill.
What's interesting is he was your childhood idol, and he was one of my least favorite athletes.
I know, and ironically, your favorite athlete, probably from the Boston area, Larry Bird,
I know. His rival.
my coach, who
Oh,
helped
that's right.
validate me in Indiana,
He
who I
believed in
love
you.
dearly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm one of the only people in the world, and I know what I'm planning on living till I'm 100,
Yeah.
that may possibly have Isaiah Thomas, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson all at his funeral. That's pretty good for a kid
Wow.
from the west side of Detroit.
So you got to develop a relationship with MJ.
I know. Well, I got a chance to play against MJ. That was the problem. When he won his final championship in 1998,
Right.
I was a member of the Pacers, and I
Yeah, I
still
remember.
have a scar on the back of my head from when MJ elbowed me underneath the hoop, and they called a foul on me. Of course. But I got him
That's
back when he
MJ.
played for the Wizards.
You guys came very close in that. We've talked about that series before, but
Yep.
you guys came very close in that series.
If there's a consolation prize, we were the only team in the 6 championships that the Bulls won to actually take them to a 7-game series, one of the greatest teams of all time.
I thought that was the closest they ever came to losing. And they had a lot of hairy moments, but that was the only time where, if you watch Game 7, they had to dig the deepest that they had to dig
I
during
bet
that
they
entire
did.
stretch.
We were winning by 17 in the second quarter.
And they were dead legs, too.
Then all of
They
a
were
sudden,
done.
we turned into a high school JV team, and
Yeah.
they turned into legends, and they stole a ball from us almost 7 or 8 out of 10 possessions and took the lead just that fast.
I broke that game down in my book because I almost felt like it was a hockey game. The way they had like minute-long possessions where they would just miss a shot, rebound, miss a shot, and they would just hold the ball, and it was like a will. It was almost a will thing.
And they had
They
a blonde,
controlled the rim.
They did. And they had a blonde-haired guy named Dennis Rodman who grabbed over 20 rebounds.
Right.
A gentleman named Tony Kukoc hit a couple of late threes. And
Big
we know
ones.
obviously what Michael and Scotty brought to the table.
You would have won the next round too.
We would have.
That was your ring.
That was my ring.
Yeah.
Or in 2000, I felt like that was my opportunity when we got there and lost to the Lakers. Or I know Knicks fans love to hear this. Charlie Ward inbounds the ball, deflected by Jalen Rose, over to Larry Johnson. He hesitates. He shoots. He's fouled by Antonio Davis. He makes the 3, and he gets a chance to go to the free throw line for the 4-point play.
Now, see, you announced that wrong. He's fouled by Antonio Davis. Beat. He shoots the 3.
Totally.
Why
What
is the referee?
happened was-
Why is the referee's arm up?
I
That's
know.
terrible.
So that was one of those calls that now I appreciate today's game where you can go back and actually have what they consider some sort of replay in today's game.
Yeah, that was a terrible way to lose.
That
You had
was
a better
terrible-
team that year.
We did have a better team,
Yeah.
and that's the thing about sports is success is about realistic expectation. Players know when they're in the locker room if they have a legitimate chance to be a playoff team, to advance in the playoffs, or to win it all. And that was one of those years that just kicks you in the butt when you feel like you let it get away.
I don't think you would have beaten the 2000 Lakers. I know you had a chance and things went your way in Game 4 overtime. Kobe had to step up, make some plays. I did feel like they had a better team. I felt you had a better chance to beat the 98 Bulls because that team was running on fumes.
I agree.
Pippen had the bad back.
And
Jordan
it's all
was
about
35.
matchups. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And the Bulls, as you mentioned, had those issues, but the Lakers had a different issue for us, and his name was Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
That year, he was playing like I would have liked to see him play for 15 straight years. Shaq, to me, had a chance to be the Bill Russell of this generation.
Right.
And the way he played in that final, around 38 points, around 15 rebounds, he was so dominant. And I agree with you. They were the better team, and they deserved to win the championship.
Shaq's performance in those playoffs are both the best and the worst case for Shaq.
It
when
is.
you talk about him in the Pantheon, because it's like you point to that and you go, well, only like 8 guys in the league could have done that.
Yeah, totally.
But then you flip it around and you go, well, why didn't he do that every year?
Well, you flip it around and you go to 2004 after they win 3 straight championships,
Right.
and then Shaq has an injury during the season. He doesn't get surgery or the rehab that he needs during the off season. He comes back in training camp and tells the team, I want a new contract. Oh, and by the way,
Yeah.
I got hurt on company time. I'm going to rehab on company time.
And I'm 400 pounds.
And everything went bad after that for him and the Lakers. They eventually lost to the Detroit Pistons in the finals. That was the year they added Gary Payton and Karl Malone. And so that was basically the end of Shaq in L.A. It would have been great to see he and Kobe Bryant find a way to play together for a decade.
You know, you look back at the Shaq Kobe, they won 3 titles. I would say if you were looking at it in 2000, the over-under was probably 4.5, maybe even 5.
I agree.
And they just couldn't get along, and that was, and also like just from what we know about them, Kobe's one of these guys. All he cares about is basketball. He's a basketball machine. All he cares about is working out, preparing, doing everything he possibly can to win. That's it. That's really what his life seems to be. Shaq's the opposite. Like I compared in my book, I said Shaq was like the guy who could have graduated with a 4.0, and he kind of surveyed the scene and he said, you know what? I'm going to graduate with a 3.3.
That's a good example.
And I'm going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to go out 6 days a week.
Oh, Shaq would champagne and campaign with the best of them. Do movies, do rap albums. He was a transcendent athlete. He's fun, lovable, 7 foot. But if he had the killer instinct of a Kobe Bryant, where he said, I'm going to straight dominate for 15 straight years and deal with everything else when I'm done playing, he could have rivaled a Bill Russell or even a Michael Jordan with championship rings. I would have thought that he would have gotten at least 6 based on your point. There's a reason why he's doing a very good job on TNT these days, where there's another center that used to play named Hakeem Olajuwon, who actually have athletes from Kobe Bryant, LeBron James,
going to see him,
Amari Stoudemire coming to see him.
Right.
That's the difference. Hakeem Olajuwon did a few things Shaq didn't do. He was dominate on the defensive end. For his size, Shaq never led the league in blocks
or rebounds,
I know, or was defensive player of the year. And that's something when people say he was the most dominant, he won the gene pool. He got 4 championships. I say they split those 4 up like this. He gets 2, his mom gets 1, his dad gets the other. Okay? He was 7 foot, 335 plus pounds.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that lightly. He turned over the left shoulder. He had a powerful jump hook. He did a lot of rim runs. But it wasn't turn around, jump shot off the glass, face up, jab step. That wasn't his game. So blessings that he won the gene pool.
Well, a couple things. One, I think Shaq would do it exactly the same. I don't think he has any regrets at all.
And he shouldn't, because he's become a mogul. I think he's probably the highest paid professional basketball player of all time.
Made the most money ever. He won 4 rings. He's one of the 12 best players ever. And I think the people who tend to care more about, did he reach, was he 90%, was it, like, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care at all.
He feels like he had a great career, and you can't blame him. But, you know, I look at, I'm going to bring in our friend Jacoby. We play pickup basketball. Jacoby doesn't want to go down low sometimes. We played yesterday. He's being guarded by this guy who does like the elbow in the back thing, and Jacoby's like, I just didn't feel like getting elbowed in the back. I think Shaq hit that point probably a lot of times. He's like, oh crap, I got to go against Dale Davis. He's going to elbow me in the back for 4 quarters. I'm just not in the mood for it.
Shaq became the most dominant player in the league in 2000.
Yes.
Let me tell you the centers he played against in the NBA Finals.
It's a disaster.
And an aging Rick Smits.
Aging.
Dikembe Mutombo when he was 50 years old.
He might have been 55.
Todd McCullough, period.
Pinball Wizard.
And Zagana Diop.
Oh, God.
Those were the centers that Shaq played when he won the championship. And recently he came out and talked about his rival, the person that he hated to play against the most. Let me tell you what the answer was.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Probably somebody who threw some elbows and did some cheap stuff. Oh, wait, he hated playing against Hakeem.
He said Rick Mahorn. Not the Rick Mahorn that won a championship in, let me follow this, that won a championship in 89 and 90. Not the Rick Mahorn that played with Jeff Rulin and was a part of the Bash Brothers in the 80s.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Rick Mahorn that was barely in the league at this time when he met Shaquille O'Neal.
Because he was probably stepping on his feet, hitting little elbows. Rick Mahorn used to step on Kevin McHale's broken foot.
But if you're a Hall of Famer and you're Shaquille O'Neal and your rival isn't Tim Duncan, isn't Hakeem Olajuwon, it's Rick Mahorn, that says a lot about the era that you came up in.
Well, that's the interesting thing about Shaq is Duncan should have been his rival.
Totally.
And we always talk about, like, people, Jordan's 50th birthday is coming up, and everybody's going to rehash his career again for the 90th time. And one of the themes with Jordan was, well, he never had a rival. He never had that guy pushing him. That's why he left to play baseball, because he looked at, he wanted Clyde Drexler to be the right. Now he'd be Clyde Drexler. He wanted Barkley. Now Barkley. Magic left the league. And if he had that guy pushing him, like say Kobe comes in 10 years earlier, and Kobe's measuring himself again, and MJ's like, who's this Kobe guy? And just sets out to destroy him. That would have been great for Michael.
Absolutely. And that's why we consider Michael the greatest of all time. Because another player will not be able to say that they won 6 championships and 6 finals MVPs.
Right.
That means you were the star and the superstar on every team that you played against. You were the guy getting double and triple teamed.
Well, and also,
you were the guy that was leading the way.
Different league, though.
Yes.
He's going to the rim. He's getting hit. The Knicks and the even your Pacers, we're going to hit you. Come down the lane. We want you to.
That was the goal.
We're going to hit you.
We want to hit Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That's the goal. He had to deal with that. And also, he came through an era we had to go against the Showtime Lakers, the Bad Boy Pistons, the legendary Celtics. And while he didn't have that rival, and this is the difference between him and like a Shaq, the players I mentioned for Shaq, Drexler's a Hall of Famer. Reggie Miller's a Hall of Famer. Mitch Richmond may be a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
These are players that came along in the Michael Jordan era. He also played a couple of finals against Stockton and Malone. These are Hall of Fame caliber players.
Gary
Payton.
But he lucked out in those 2 Utah series.
He
Brian
did.
Russell guarding him.
Yeah, he did.
He lucked out in general. I mean, this is kind of morbid, but Reggie Lewis played him better than anybody.
Reggie Lewis was a heck of a player.
Reggie Lewis just got basically taken out.
He did.
And then Drazen, too, was somebody that at least you'd have to think about 4 times a year, and Drazen's out. And really the best 2 guard of that whole era was Reggie Miller.
And I hate to show my age, but one of the things that I missed growing up, late 80s, 90s, I would have loved to see Len Bias play in the NBA.
Well, that's another one.
I was so much a fan of Len Bias. I'll never forget watching him play against North Carolina.
Yeah.
A team that had Michael Jordan and had future pros on it. He was a man amongst boys. If he would have got to the NBA under that Celtic umbrella, by the way, for those that forget, the Celtics have the most championships in NBA history at 17.
And by the way, that was our best team that he was joining.
Yeah.
The 86 Celtics were the best Celtics team, and he would have joined them.
That would have been fantastic.
I've always wanted to ask you this, actually, because I wrote a column about Bias, I think, in 2001, just about, it's one of the great sports tragedies of my life, probably number one, because if anyone was meant to play with that guy, it was Bird. It would have been like a toy in the garage. Bird just throwing alley-oops to him and figuring out ways to use him. But I think the thing that was underrated about Bias was the swagger that he played with, which nobody had in the mid-'80s. And I always wondered if that had an effect on the Fab Five. Because whatever Bias was doing in the mid-'80s, which under the radar, then you guys took it to the next level 4 or 5 years later.
That's a great example. That's a great analogy. Teams that I watched in particular growing up that I loved, that I felt like had a swagger, were the John Thompson Georgetown teams.
Bad Boy Pistons.
The Bad Boy Pistons. Len Bias, as you just mentioned. UNLV.
Oh, yeah. Larry Johnson.
Yeah. Anderson Hunt.
Ogman.
He went to my high school. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
Anderson Hunt. And we're still friends to this day. In Small World Theory and how things come full circle, his daughter actually goes to the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if that makes me old or that just means that it's a small world. So those teams, and also Syracuse, because Derek Coleman was from Detroit. I used to love the fact that Derek could make a shot underneath the hoop and find a way to run back on defense out of bounds.
Right.
Looking at the crowd, pumping up the crowd while everybody else was running back on defense and found ways to get every rebound. So those are the guys I looked up to. So when I got to college, after watching UNLV lose to Duke
Yeah.
from Anderson Hunt's basement wearing my all UNLV attire, it was already embedded in me. And I never knew that I would be playing against that same team the following year in the finals.
And I think had Bias come along 7 years later,
Oh, wow.
I think he would have also been wearing the baggy shorts.
He would
and
have.
doing more chest pumping and
He
all that
would have.
stuff.
For those that didn't get a chance to see Len Bias play, I want you to Google it. He was, the way LeBron James is a physical freak now,
Yeah.
he was that then.
Right.
But as a forward, so imagine Carmelo Anthony with LeBron James athleticism. It was almost like that.
I would have said, I mean, we'll never know, and maybe he would have had drug problems his whole career, like who knows. But I think talent-wise, he's on there with Malone and Barkley.
Yes.
I think in the worst-case scenario, if he stays clean, all that stuff, he has the kind of career that those guys would have had.
The kind of numbers you see Kevin Love getting, those are the kind of numbers I know Len Bias would have been getting.
Well, and the other thing, not only did he get fast break points, but he had a 20-footer
He
that
did.
he made all the time.
And would finish over the top, was
Right.
built like a grown man in college.
Yeah, I think he would have been an iconic guy.
He would have
And
been.
also on that team, too. The next year's team, the 86 Celtics won 67, went 15-3 in the playoffs, and they would have added Len Bias. So that team could have been the first 70-win team.
And so for people who talk about great players like a LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Dwight Howard, all joining teams together, teams like the Celtics and the Lakers didn't have to do that because they're great organizations.
Yeah.
You're describing a team that was great to add Len Bias. The Lakers won the championship in 82, 83,
Yeah.
and then had the number 1 pick and added James Worthy.
Right, yeah.
That doesn't happen. Imagine if the Miami Heat had the number 1 pick and added Anthony Davis.
It wouldn't be good. You know, I meant to give you crap about this. The Fab Five, I went back because now that we're teammates, I wanted to make sure I was immersed on all things Jalen.
Okay.
I went back and read the Fab Five book. As Jacoby knows, I can read a book in like an hour. And you guys, everybody gives LeBron and Wade and Bosh crap for teaming up and trying to stack the deck. Excuse me, the Fab Five. What did you guys do?
We absolutely
You
tried to
stacked
do
the
that.
deck.
No doubt about
You
it.
should have gone to UNLV.
Or
How did you not
Syracuse.
go to UNLV?
I took
That would have
visits
been
to
the perfect Jalen Rose school.
Well, anytime you go to Vegas and Ed O'Bannon is there along with J.R. Ryder, I'm looking at the landscape thinking, the NCAA is sniffing around here.
Yeah, maybe I should stay away.
I was taking my visit to Syracuse. I was probably going to be the second tallest player on the team. They were going to lose Billy Owens. They had Conrad McRae. Red Autry was my host.
Plus, you're in Syracuse.
And I would have been in Syracuse, New York.
You would
I
have
didn't
been
want to
miserable
do.
in Syracuse.
My mother wasn't able to take any flights to watch me play in Syracuse. And Michigan State, that ended up being my second choice.
Tom Izzo recruited you.
Absolutely. Tom Izzo with Judd Heathcote was the coach. Magic Johnson was a 6'9" point guard that I idolized along with Steve Smith, who was as well. So I felt like that was going to be my trek. But I wore number 5 in college, to your point of stacking the deck, because I was the 5th person of the Fab Five to sign his letter of intent.
And they were going hard after C-Web.
They were.
C-Web was by far number 1 recruit.
Yes,
and
he
people
was.
were wondering, like, is he going to be one of the best players ever?
Yup.
Like, he was one of the most ballyhooed high school guys.
I
And you had known him since what? You were 10?
Since we were 12 years old, I remember us having an AAU practice, and our coach Hervey, who now is the coach of our basketball team at the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. You see, we keep it real over here. Anyway, I remember him telling us that he was going to bring a guy to come play with the team that was going to be our big man for the next few years. And I was like, all right, cool. First few practices, like, where is he, coach? I'm tired of playing power forward. So I remember Chris showing up at the gym, gangly kid, tight shorts, big shoes, dirty socks. And we were actually laughing and joking when we first saw him play. I remember a time this guy got a rebound. This is 8th grade.
Yeah.
Okay, this is when players say, I can dunk, and then everybody move out of the way. And you try to get your steps right and go dunk.
Yeah.
And you make it 1 out of 10 times. This guy got a rebound. Did ball handling moves between the legs, behind the back, went coast to coast and dunked. And we was like fans after that. Like, oh my God, what do we got to do to make this guy a part of our team? And ever since then, we were friends, and we pushed one another for greatness. And I was fortunate enough to have that.
He probably should have been the best power forward of all time.
I agree.
Either him or Duncan.
I
mean,
agree.
when you just talk about having the tools.
Yes.
And I know, like, there's a variety of reasons why it didn't happen. His body didn't hold up. He went to the wrong team. I think you could argue he came into the league at the wrong time when you're getting paid too much too soon. You don't have to earn anything. All of a sudden, people are telling you you're worth $80 million.
Anytime you're the rookie of the year, after you just got a $70 million contract,
and then you're renegotiating it,
and you renegotiate it, and they trade you,
yeah,
for Tom Gugliotta,
yeah,
there's a disconnect.
And 3 picks.
That was the disconnect. If he would have found a way to stay in Golden State initially, I think that would have lined up the career that you're describing.
It's one of the great what ifs because people forget that team had Hardaway.
Yes.
That team had Sprewell. That team had an older Chris Mullin. They had C-Webb, and I think they had Billy Owens.
They did.
And his rookie year, they won 50 games. And I think Hardaway was hurt.
Yep. And that was the year that he had a commercial where he marked Charles Barkley.
Charles owned him.
And he got
playoffs.
a chance to play him in the playoffs, and Charles Barkley put up a 55 in the playoff game against that team.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to double me? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Up and under. Left shoulder. Right shoulder.
But we saw C-Webb starting with the 99 Kings, that stretch, 99 through 03, which he got to about 85-90% of where I think he could have gone as a player. But you saw it. I mean, he was a guy who could get 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists every night.
Yep, agreed.
And there's never been a power forward like that except for Duncan.
And I remember, and also they were a team that started to open up the paint with a Euro style. You have Vlade on the team. You eventually have Peja Stojakovic on the team. You start playing high post, cutting, scissor cuts, getting a lot of players different shots in different positions. It wasn't a traditional throw it down low, post up, ISO situation, and that helped enable his skill set as well. Rick Adelman did a very good job now with the Minnesota Timberwolves instituting that style of play.
It seems like you guys have such a complicated relationship. You've known him since you were 12. You played together in college, not in the pros. There's this clip of you guys online from the Best Damn Sports Show, which I sent to you. I was like,
yeah, that's funny.
This online. And you guys are both telling stories about in high school and college and all this stuff. And it just seems like there's such a history with you guys. Like, how often do you talk to him?
I don't talk to him as much as I should, and it's actually disappointing. We've never had an argument. We've never had a disagreement. We've never had a beef. I think what eventually happens, and this happens in a lot of different relationships, whether it's with your friends or whether it's with your mates or whether it's family, sometimes people get older and they grow apart. And I think that the timeout, and he may or may not ever admit this, I think that timeout really screwed him up emotionally.
Really?
To the point where he wanted to disassociate himself with the entire Michigan scenario. He wants to act like that it never happened. And so a domino effect of that has been the relationships with not just me, but the other other members of the Fab Five. If we see each other today, we're going to love each other, hug it out like we're brothers. But did we go out and have cold ones last night? No. But if I see him tomorrow, will we? Yes. There's no animosity at all. I just think a lot of times you grow up and you grow apart. And also I think that there was a piece that he was the best player. He was the superstar of the team. He's the number one pick of the draft. But I was the leader of the team.
But it was your team.
So there's also a dynamic with that I'm pretty sure he got tired of people saying, well, Jalen's the leader. You're getting your credit from Jalen. Like, people used to blame me. It was weird because say he did something wrong in college.
Yeah.
People will blame me. Oh, he got that from Jalen. Oh, the only reason why he said that is because he was hanging out with Jalen. So when he was good, he was great. But when he was bad, blame it on Jalen.
Right.
So I think that dynamic, along with the Ed Martin dynamic, of I introduced Chris Webber to Ed Martin. Ed Martin was like a family figure to me.
You're talking about the booster that caused all the Michigan problems.
Absolutely. And when Chris made it to the NBA, he and Ed had a spirit of, okay, it's April, May. You're going to get drafted in a couple of months. I don't want you to deal with any boosters. I don't want you to deal with any agents. I don't want you to deal with any hanger-ons. Me and you can handle something right here if I give you X.
Yeah.
When you go get your $70 million contract, you go give me Y. The problem was, in Chris' eyes, that contract was written on tissue paper, on toilet paper, and he didn't honor it. So when he didn't take care of it, that put me in a bad position.
Right.
And that created the entire domino of the fallout that happened with the Michigan banners eventually being taken down.
Right. So, I mean, it almost sounds like you guys need to just go out to dinner.
Yes. I would say we should go somewhere where there's some adult entertainment. I think we'd have a lot more fun if we could have steaks and lobsters and we're watching some adult entertainment.
Was there like, I mean, did it go beyond basketball? Was it more like a life of the, like, you're one of those guys, you're the life of the party. You're gonna be maybe the coolest guy in the room in Michigan, like your sophomore year. And Chris is supposed to be the big man on campus. You're stealing a little bit of that thunder. Like, was there a little bit of that?
We were roommates at college our freshman year.
I know, I read that. In
We
the
sure
Fab
were.
Five, I was thinking, like, that was probably a very interesting...
Imagine
Did
us.
you guys have bunk beds?
No, we had beds that, a small room radius. My bed was on the right as you walk in. His bed was on the left.
Did you guys obey the sock rule? If the sock was on the door, you couldn't go in?
No, we didn't obey any rules. None at all. If you're over there handling your business, I'll act like I'm asleep.
All right, yeah, I'm just going to roll over.
I'll be jealous because I'm not having company. I'll be on my beeper. That's right, beeper for all you youngsters out there trying to find a way to get me some company. But the microwave and the little fridge we had was on his side. The
Oh.
TV was like in the middle. And I just remember so many great stories of us being roommates, playing Tecmo Bowl and playing all of the video games.
It must have been great for studying.
We
You
went
guys
to
must
study
have-
hall for that.
Yeah, you must. Oh, you.
Yeah, we
okay.
went to study hall
They
for
say
that.
when you're doing your algebra homework.
Once
Must have been nice to bang that off for Chris.
Once we got back to the room, we were doing what all other college kids were doing. If you did it in college, we did it too.
Were there cards?
With the cards, yeah, we played spades, we played tongue. I shot craps. That was my thing. We
So
played craps.
mostly Tecmo Bowl. Tecmo Bowl is the
Ball.
leader.
No doubt. I used to use the Giants, and I used to use Bo Jackson on Oakland. He was
Yeah.
unstoppable.
Right. Bo was the best.
He was. So we have that kind of relationship where we pushed each other. Now, I always talk about the fun times, but this is what gets overlooked. We used to work our tails off.
Right.
Like we used to be in it. There's a reason why this guy could get you 20 points, get you 10 rebounds, and get you 4 assists, because he worked on all of those skills. That was the same thing with me. I worked on 3 separate positions. That's why I was able to start at 3 different positions in the league.
So it really sounds like more like a family member than a friend.
Oh, he's definitely a family member. He's a brother.
Yeah.
That's
So
my brother.
Jawan
That's
wins
my little brother.
It's little brother. Yeah, you
Yes.
made that point. So Jawan wins the title.
Jawan
First-
wins the title for
I know
all
you've
of
already
us.
talked about this, but we haven't talked about this. Yeah, first ring for the Fab Five.
Yep.
And, even though he wasn't playing a lot of minutes for that team, it did seem like he had a dramatic impact from a leadership standpoint and a professionalism standpoint and things like that. And he's another guy that I feel like him and C-Web, similar to some degrees, I think you could even lump you in there because all 3 of them, like Sam Mitchell said that about you the other day, you'd never reach your potential. Say the same thing about C-Web, you could say the same thing about Jawan, and yet combined you guys made probably like $600 million.
The score of the game,
Yeah.
baby, in the game of life.
I'm going to say there was some financial potential that was reached.
You know what I've done at my office? If anybody ever comes to my office, I actually went on eBay and I went on Craigslist and I printed out a list of probably 50 championship rings that are being auctioned off.
Right.
And I look at that as motivation. I didn't win the score of the game, but I'm winning in the game of life.
You didn't have to auction your stuff to the
I'm
Great
not
Flannels
auctioning
catalog.
anything
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
My kids go to private school. Like, I opened a charter school. I'm blessed for my career. By the way, a lot of people look at my scenario like I was like the number 1 pick in the draft.
You were like 17, right? 13?
I wasn't a lottery pick at that time. Now you have 13 teams that are in the lottery. Back then, the first 11 teams were in the lottery. So watching Sharon Wright, Eric Montrose, Khalid Reeves, Carlos Rogers,
Yeah. I have other rookie cards.
all go ahead of me in the draft became motivation for me.
Yeah.
So whether it's Sam Mitchell or whoever, point being is, to me, my goal was to be Magic Johnson. So I'm humble enough to look in the mirror and say, you suck. You never became Magic Johnson.
Right.
But you know what? Off the court, what I'm doing in media, what I'm doing professionally, what I'm doing philanthropic-wise, I plan on still achieving those goals.
You told a story that we used on the Grantland channel, our YouTube channel, about Sam Mitchell and Vince getting a locker room fight.
And he taking shots at me. Let me just throw this out there.
Sam disagreed with your remembrance of the events.
He tried to diss me.
He did diss you.
Bill, he said,
didn't try to diss you. There was dissing. It
He
was
said
legitimate dissing.
he said I never reached my potential. He says that I was telling a story. He says that how did the media not find out about it?
And he blamed you for the Fab Five booster scandal.
Right.
That was your fault.
That lets you know, how can you be somebody that played in the league, coached in the league, assistant coached in the league, and you're telling a story that clearly is wrong?
Yeah.
I wasn't the person that got in trouble with the NCAA and got the banner snatched down.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the person who, what did he say? He tripped over the table?
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
They were joking.
He tripped over the table.
They were joking.
Now
He's good-natured.
So let me tell you how he validated my story. He said Vince walked up to him and bear hugged him, right?
Yeah.
When the last time you seen a player bear hug a coach?
From behind?
Yes.
Yeah.
When the last time you seen a coach fall on the locker room floor because a player was just bear hugging him and threw him down?
It's a little strange.
Okay.
I can't remember ever seeing that at any point. If Jacoby bear hugged me right now, I would be like, why are you bear hugging me? What are you doing?
And he lucky I like him, and I'm not going to really take shots, but I'll just say this to dead the issue. Ask him why he got fired as the Nets assistant coach.
Oh.
Since he wanted to take shots, pow, man down.
He didn't reach his potential as the Nets assistant coach.
He did not reach his potential.
Interesting. Well, your first two stories did kind of go after Sam Mitchell. I mean, to be fair,
blame
because the
Jacoby.
other story was Kobe that he wouldn't double team him.
Sam, don't blame me. Blame the Grantland Network. I told the Grantland Network 10 stories, and they rolled yours out first. It wasn't my call.
Well, you did want to name it Sam Mitchell Story Time. Do you have more Sam Mitchell stories?
I do not, because I see sensitive. You need a man with sensitivity. So I'm not going to pick on him. I'm not going to call him out. I respect Sam Mitchell. I like Sam Mitchell. I remember working with Avery Johnson for ESPN. He was about to be the head coach of the New Jersey Nets. I'm friends with Avery to this day.
Yeah.
And he was talking to me about potentially hiring Sam Mitchell. Said, great guy, will be a great hire. I don't think he's an assistant. I don't think he's a head coach. I think he'll be a great assistant coach for you.
Oh, see, Sam, you should have listened to that.
Right.
I'm looking in the mic like Sam's
And so
listening.
you refer somebody to a job and you look up and all of a sudden they screw the job up.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So the beef is squashed.
It's squashed as far as I'm concerned.
Any other beefs you want to squash on the BS report?
No, I want to keep them going.
All right. What's the best one to keep going? What beefs do you have out there? We'll start some beefs this year.
Yeah, we will. We're going to rattle some cages this year.
Yeah, we're going to be on national TV.
Yes.
Now, I'm a little worried because in this day and age where you're not allowed to make any mistakes whatsoever and the internet just jumps on you, I'm a little bit worried about having a live mic.
I know.
I've been doing podcasts for 5.5 years, and when I cross the line, Jacoby or whomever says, hey, Bill, we're going to edit that out.
Yes.
You shouldn't have said that. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. I shouldn't have said that.
That's why.
I'm not going to have that option on live television.
That's why they've had the ABC show for like 5 or 7 years, and you and I weren't on it.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. But I do wonder, like, it always makes me mad when people, like, they measure their words when they're on TV or, like, I don't want to say deer in the headlights, but they're kind of just carefully. And maybe that's why you do it. And that's my biggest fear about doing this is, am I going to go on? I'm going to be saying, we're going to be having a conversation in the back of my head. I'm going to go, be careful, be careful, be careful. Don't say it.
Just remember this. And I loved watching the presidential debate last night because it reminded me of something. How progressive of a nation that we've become where we can now watch television shows that debate. We watch reality shows where we get behind the curtain in other people's lives, and that's fascinating to us. And now we can literally watch two presidential candidates literally debate against each other, cut each other off, argue with one another, sit up, stand up, sit down, and have the Twitter scroll at the bottom of everybody's opinion that's watching.
Right.
That's fascinating, and I think that's something that our show's going to have this year, and that's why I'm excited about being on it.
And we're going to try some stuff, too.
Of course we are.
We're not even just on the show, but we're going to figure out ways to use the internet to enhance the show.
Yep.
We'll probably stage a fake beef. Maybe we'll have a fake fist fight.
You know, that's what they do in rap. You got an album coming out, hey, you say something negative about me and your record, that's beef. Subliminal. You got to rewind it. Was he talking about him? I'm not sure.
I had a friend saying we should beef with Shaq, and I was thinking, we go right at Ernie Johnson. Nobody's ever gone at Ernie Johnson. Just start going at him, making fun of him, and then it's just, oh my God, they're going after Ernie. But yeah, the funny thing is, I would never beef with TNT because I think Barkley is the best studio guy of all time.
I do.
I really think he's the best in any sport ever, and it's like it would be an honor if the show became, I don't want to say better than that show, but at least if people said, I love the TNT show, but the ESPN show is also good. And that's it. That's all I want.
And for the fans out there that may or may not know, from a media standpoint, I've been covering the NBA Finals since 2002. And during that period, I actually worked for TNT.
Yeah.
I did sideline for TNT. I did studio for TNT. I worked with Kenny. I worked with Charles. I worked with Ernie. And I have a lot of respect for them. There are times when I'm on TV and I get off, I look down at my phone, it's Charles Barkley leaving me a voicemail.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work. When I'm at the NBA Finals, I'm finding Charles because Charles on the TNT budget. He buying dinner at Prime 112. So I really like those guys also. I really appreciate what they bring as far as analysis. But more so, they embody what we just described. How it's unfiltered. They just say what they see, throw out all of the scripts, throw out all of the B-roll a lot of times. And I agree with you. If we can have a show that people say may or may not be better than their show, but we really like it, I will be happy.
And with that said, I really want to beat the TNT guys.
Of course, I want an Emmy. We're being competitive. Charles, Kenny, they know how it works. They're competitive. Ernie, they put the Emmy up on the table when they get it. We're in a competitive space.
Yeah.
I tell people all of the time, if I want your spot, I can't really be your best friend.
Yeah.
And we're going to watch their show. We're going to root for their show. But when it's time to put on those tuxedos, we hope our show gets called.
Well, did you see the 30 for 30 about Ben Johnson and Carl Lewis?
I have not seen it just yet.
Carl Lewis, there's a rumor that they might have had a teammate spike Ben Johnson's drink.
I heard. Is that something?
I'm gonna figure out ways to do that to Charles for his shows. If I can get one TNT intern to just drop stuff in his Gatorade or whatever he's drinking right before. That's what we need.
But that's good company.
We need a TNT scandal.
It's almost like when Kobe scores 81 points and you're on the other team. I tell people all the time, Kobe Bryant is 4 times, if not 40 times better than me. Right. If I can score 20 points in a game, he should be able to score 80 points in a game.
Right.
The same thing with TNT. They set the bar. Now we coming to try to. It's almost like when you're standing in the schoolyard and you get into an argument with somebody. They nudge you, you nudge them. Hey, knock this off my shoulder. You know, we coming to try to knock it off their shoulder.
Here's the thing that appealed to me the most, because people, you know, my friends and talking to family and trying to decide whether I want to do this or not. And, you know, I have an internet column, I have a podcast, but a lot of people have a column, and a lot of people have a podcast. The chance to come on after a really big basketball moment where the game has just ended and now you're on television, and I think like a game like LeBron when in Game 5 in Boston when he just didn't show up. And Barkley came on after, and Barkley was so disappointed, and he couldn't hide it. And he was able to put it in perspective with just the way he looked physically and the way he talked about it in a really rational way, that it kind of added to that night for me. Like I felt, because I'm sitting there going, what just happened? Like as a Celtic fan, I was upset that I was like, LeBron just checked out. Like as a basketball fan, I'm hurt by what happened. And then Barkley came on and put it in a perspective in a way that made me feel like I wasn't alone. That made me feel like I wasn't just imagining how bad that was. And I think it's pretty cool to have that power to come on after these shows or at halftime or whatever, try to capture what's going on. How many people get that chance? That's why I want to do it.
And also, fans appreciate when they know that you're being genuine and you're being unfiltered. And that's what you've been able to establish with your audience. That's what I try to establish with my audience.
Yes.
That's something very good that Charles has done as well.
And Kenny's done it too.
And Kenny does a tremendous job
that way as well.
And that's what they want to see. They don't want to see you up there talking like you're reading out of a prompter.
Right.
And that's what he was able to give us after that game. And that's why I'm excited about us joining the NBA Countdown show this year, because this is one of my most anticipated basketball seasons as a fan.
Well, that's the other reason
in 20 years.
This is the best season in 20 years.
How many storylines is it going to be this year?
And, you know, I was looking at that schedule. I was trying to figure out, because Wednesdays, Fridays, some days with Grantland, I can't do two in a week. And
we're going to try to kidnap you, buddy.
Well, I know. I'll probably end up doing more than I thought. But you look at these schedules and you're like, ooh, Miami at Boston. I can't miss that one. Ooh, Clippers at Lakers. Oh, that's a nice one.
How many?
Ooh, Brooklyn, New York.
How
like,
many
you just go down,
times?
it's great.
How many times in our lives have the Lakers, Clippers, Nets, and Knicks all been good?
And in the same, playing like within 10 minutes of each other.
How awesome is that?
Just that alone is incredible. But
Right.
then you have, I think like there's real feuds this year.
There are.
Miami and Boston, that's a legit thing. The Ray Allen thing is a legit thing.
It is.
The Celtic guys do not like Ray Allen.
And
are
they
mad
should
and
not
they feel
like
betrayed.
Ray Allen.
They feel betrayed by him, and all that stuff is not overblown.
When they have their 20-year reunion to celebrate their championship ring that they won in Boston, they could forgive Ray Allen then.
Right.
But until all of those players retire, that bad blood should be there, Bill. That's what makes the game great. While we're saying the Miami Heat are going to win it all or win the East, they still have to go through the Celtics. The Knicks have to live up to expectations.
Well, here's the other part with the Miami and Boston. So you have that part. You have the Jason Terry Miami thing. Jason Terry ripped their hearts out in the 2011 finals, and he's going to Boston. Like, I got it back. Then you have the Paul Pierce and KG versus LeBron thing, which you know.
I do know.
That was a legit thing.
It's
and that
very
was
legit.
like, and I wrote this. I think they crossed the line with him. And I think they got so personal with him with some of the stuff they were saying that he snapped. And that's what happened in Game 5 in Boston when he had the 47 or whatever he had. They just pushed him too far.
And
do you agree with that theory?
I do agree with that theory, and that's where fans have to understand, while the game is physical, it's so much mental. And that's where trash talking comes in. When people talk about the Dallas Mavs beating the Miami Heat, they don't say that they were more talented. They say that Dirk played phenomenal because Dirk went through everyone that year. He went through Brandon Roy and Aldridge. He went through Westbrook and Durant.
Oklahoma City, yeah.
He went through Kobe and Paul Gasol, and obviously he went through LeBron James and Dwayne Wade.
And Dwayne Wade said that thing about him being sick.
Yes, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
That helped fuel the fire. But the undercurrent for that was people felt like the Mavs did a great job of poking the bear. And that was LeBron James. Deshaun Stevenson, Jason Terry, talking trash to him.
Who was the other one? There was one more who was...
Sean Marion's playing good defense on him.
There was one more who was... I guess Deshaun Stevenson was the one who was really trying to get in his mug.
So now when the Miami Heat win over OKC, LeBron detractors will say it was because LeBron was in his comfort zone.
Yeah.
So now you team Jason Terry up with Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce with Doc Rivers already stirring the pot.
And don't forget Rondo.
And Rondo, I love Rondo.
Remember when he got switched on LeBron in the last play of Game 2
he was talking
regulation?
trash to him.
He's like, come on.
Ain't that something?
Yeah, it was great. I love that.
Rondo has become one of my favorite players because he's probably not the most quote-unquote talented player, but I think he plays just as hard as, if not harder than every player out there.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? He if you're looking at guys who might jump and become possible MVP candidates this year, I think he's the best bet.
Yes, I agree.
Because it does seem like he has embraced the whole... Like, what did you think? Did you read that story about how he brought the whole team to L.A. and they played touch football? And hey, this is a guy who's a loner. Like, we were watching him at All-Star Weekend in February, and all the All-Stars are sitting all in that one spot where they all watch the dunks, and Rondo's underneath the basket by himself. Like, he wasn't even interacting with the All-Stars, and I think it's something that he didn't care about.
So for media members and fans that say they want rivalries, they should appreciate what Rajon Rondo was doing at the All-Star game.
Yeah.
I want to beat these guys.
He doesn't want to kiss ass with these guys.
It's LeBron. 3 of the guys play on the Miami Heat. Here's the All-Star team basically in the East.
Right.
3 of the guys going to play on the Heat.
Yeah.
2 or 3 of the guys going to play on the Celtics.
Yeah.
2 or 3 of the guys are going to play on the Knicks. 2 or 3 of the guys are going to play on the Nets. And then the Pacers going to have 1 or 2 guys. That's the All-Star team.
Well, that's like the famous Larry Bird story where it was in Jack McCallum's book Unfinished Business. Larry was on the All-Star team, and he found out Lambert wasn't on it, and he was like, that's great. And they're like, why is that great? And he's like, because then I don't have to worry about being on the bus and Bill saying, how you doing, Larry? And then I'll have to say, you, Bill.
Right. And that's going to be great in the league, especially in the East.
Yeah.
Watching the New York team versus the Brooklyn team.
Well, do you think the New York Knicks and Brooklyn, even though the fans will feel like a rivalry, do you really actually feel like there's going to be bad blood there? Because Joe Johnson, I don't even know if does he speak? Have you ever heard Joe Johnson say anything?
There has to be bad blood there.
And is there a less charismatic superstar than Darren Williams?
Darren Williams,
Brook Lopez doesn't talk. I mean, he's like
the second best center in the league.
He's not
according
going to
Shaq.
talk on the court, though.
No, he doesn't.
Chris Humphries hasn't said anything since Kim Kardashian dumped him.
Or since Kanye West said,
Gerald Wallace doesn't talk. So I don't actually see those rivalry games being classic rivalry game. Clippers-Lakers, that is the one.
I agree. If I had to pick one of the two, I would say Clippers-Lakers would be the rivalry.
And KCP hates those guys. He's already adopted the hatred of the Lakers.
He
and
has
Gasol
to.
And all that stuff.
And here's the next step, and I want to go back to the East for a second. Here's the next step in particular for the Knicks and Carmelo Anthony. In order for the Knicks to beat the Celtics, he's going to have to make Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Jason Terry, Rajon Rondo hate him. In order for them to beat the Heat, he has to make LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh hate him. That's the only way it's going to happen. It was almost like the Detroit Pistons. They couldn't beat the Showtime Lakers or the Celtics. They have Hall of Famers. They have the most championships in the NBA.
Yeah.
We have to make these guys dislike us. I have to make Michael Jordan dislike me if I'm a member of the Bad Boy Pistons. And that's what I think they're going to have to do if they're going to be a very good team.
And maybe Oklahoma City has to adopt some of that, too.
I agree.
I didn't like how... I think it's tough to beat somebody if you don't hate them at least a little bit.
I
In
agree.
Miami, it's like... And I know some of it's probably been a little overblown. Now people think LeBron and Durant worked out together all summer. I don't think they did. But
they did not. That is being overblown.
They're friends.
They are friends.
They were on the
respect one
Olympic
another.
team together.
I was at those games. Kevin Durant wanted to take it to LeBron. It's just that the Heat were a better team, and James Harden didn't play like he played during the regular season, and they lost.
And also, if you look back at that finals, the first 4 games were all decided by 6 plays total.
They were.
And I just didn't feel like Oklahoma City was totally ready. The matchups weren't. I know the blogosphere made a big deal about this, about them playing the wrong matchups and Perkins, and now it turns out Perkins was hurt in that series. But I do think you have to get your feet wet. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, you have to get your feet wet.
And they got their feet wet the year before in the Dallas series. They tasted that. They learned from that. They applied it to the San Antonio series. But then you get to the finals, and it's like, it's just bigger. It just feels bigger. There's media there. You're in a shoot around. There's 200 media on the floor, 2 hours for the game. Like, you know that it's bigger.
My biggest regret is that I never got a chance to, in college or pro, be a part of a championship parade.
Right.
But one of the things I'm most proud of is that on every level that I've played on, I got a chance to play on the stage you just described. And that stage is different from the conference finals to the NBA finals. It's way different. It's an apples and oranges argument. It's totally different. And LeBron James had been there a couple of times before and lost. So he knew what to expect. He knew what it took. Dwayne Wade had won a championship already. So I think that experience helped them. One of the toughest decisions that I have this year going into the season is who's going to win the West.
Yeah.
That's a very tough decision for me.
Don't give it away here. You got to give it away on our show.
This is true.
I'm with you, though, because this is why I hate doing predictions sometimes.
Me too.
The Lakers have a high ceiling and a low basement. And whatever you guess, you can't say in October you were right, because there's just no way to know.
There's no way to know.
I don't know if Dwight Howard's going to be 100% of what he was. The guy had back surgery. They cut into his back.
Literally.
Yeah. And I don't know if Kobe's going to enjoy playing with Steve Nash or not. He says he is now. But what happens the first time with 2 minutes left on national TV? They're down 1. They're at home. The fans want a basket. And Nash is dribbling. And Kobe's like, I'm ready. I want to shoot. I'm ready to shoot.
That's going to happen, Bill, because here's the deal. Steve Nash has a pick and roll style that at the end of the game, Kobe Bryant is going to get on the right wing. He's 12, 15 feet away from the basket and put his left hand in the air.
Yeah.
And he's going to want the ball. And everybody else is going to fall in line and expect Kobe Bryant to take the team home. And then if he missed 1 or 2 of the shots, people are going to question Mike Brown why Kobe had the basketball. But here's the other undercurrent for the Lakers.
Well, there's many undercurrents.
Yes.
It's a very choppy waters.
Here's one of my favorites. Kobe Bryant playing with Dwight Howard. Because, and I'm going to quote the great American philosopher Big Daddy Kane, Kobe Bryant has already acknowledged that he is not animated like a cartoon. He's for real shooting buckets like a harpoon. Dwight Howard does a lot of smiling. He's very jovial out there on the floor. Kobe's going to want that guy to have a killer instinct at all times.
And they've also played together in 08, and I didn't really know this until the summer, but the guys on that 08 team were not happy with Dwight Howard's competitiveness level. They thought he was there to be on the team and smile and he did not have the killer instinct maybe they were hoping he might have against a team like Spain.
And he was young, so I'm going to defend him on that part.
You got to defend him on that. He was like 22.
This is what's going to happen with Dwight Howard this year, and I'm guaranteeing this. He did handle his free agency sophomoric. He handled it all wrong.
Sophomoric's an effing compliment. That's the nicest thing anyone said about Dwight Howard.
And he botched the entire situation.
I think botched is a compliment.
But people forgot that he is one of the top 5 players in the game.
I have him third.
So when he gets out on the floor with that purple and gold on, blocking shots, running the floor, getting rebounds, it's going to be a different dynamic for that team that they haven't seen. And how can NBA GMs allow them to do that deal and not trade Pau Gasol?
It would have been vetoed in my fantasy league. But I'm with you. And I've written this. If you just looked at the Lakers team, just the 11 other guys, and you said, what player should we put on this team that will do all the things that would fill every hole that this team has? You would put Dwight Howard on the team.
Absolutely.
Oh, Kobe Nash. Kobe hasn't guarded anybody for 2 years. Kobe made all defense 2 years ago. It was one of the biggest travesties that's ever happened.
But that happens in sports when you get a name. People say that about Jeter getting a gold glove.
Oh, yeah. So you have Kobe and Nash now on the perimeter. And then if they put Antoine Jamison out there with them, now you have Antoine Jamison might be the worst defensive player in the league. Nash is, even though he's smart, he knows where to go. You can beat him off the dribble. And Kobe, you can take off the dribble anytime you want. Now they have Dwight Howard behind there. Hey, guys.
And here's the thing.
Come this way.
And here's the thing about winning the West. The teams that they have to go against that I feel are going to be the top teams, say the Clippers. DeAndre Jordan is not a scorer, allows Dwight Howard to be a goaltender. So he can do what you just described. Same with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Perkins isn't a scorer, allows Dwight Howard to be a roamer.
Well,
that's the key for the Lakers.
Here's the thing with Perkins, though. The reason he got a $35 million contract or whatever he got was because of how well he played against Dwight Howard.
He is the best post defender against Howard.
For whatever reason, that's the one guy he's great against. Now, I'm not as high on the Clippers as other. I think they got too many guys. And I wanted to ask you about this. I have a theory. There's a tipping point with good guys you can have on a team because you can only play realistically 8 or 9. Clippers have like 11 or 12, and all those guys are going to want to play. I think they got too many guys.
I agree with you. And on the perimeter in particular.
Did you ever play on a team where it was like too heavy in a playing rotation?
Not like theirs, because you got a lot of people consider Blake Griffin one of the best young and up-and-coming talents in the league. This guy averaged 20 and 10 as a rookie.
Yeah.
You have Chris Paul, who's going to be all-NBA, one of the top 2 or 3 point guards, no matter whose list it is. You signed Jamal Crawford. I know they needed another ball handler, somebody that can get their shot one-on-one. I love those moves. They need Lamar Odom because they're going to need somebody to close games if they're going against a center.
He weighs 300 pounds.
That's going to be an issue. See, I haven't seen him work out just yet. I haven't seen him on the floor. Now, that would be an issue.
He should have maybe gone gluten-free this summer.
Oh, no.
And candy-free.
So Mark Cuban is going to like what he sees from Lamar Odom in the Clipper uniform.
Yeah.
So that's not a good thing.
So they added Lamar Odom, Grant Hill, and Matt Barnes. How are all those 3 guys going to play? They're not going to be happy. And they have Caron Butler.
Yes, and the Caron Butler is in the 2nd or 3rd year of a large contract, so he's going to get minutes.
Here's the other thing. I mean, listen, I'm not going to spend the whole season complaining about Vinny Del Negro again, but not even once did they well, and I'm sure I will, but not even once did they show me Blake Griffin at small forward. I was dying to see that all year. Just show me it. Show me Blake with 2 other bigs. Show me him attacking small forwards because he could guard them on the other end. So now he's just basically a big. I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure he is a big.
But at the end of the games, this is why I think the Clippers are still going to have a special team. Jamal Crawford is one of the best players in the league one-on-one getting a shot off, and he makes clutch shots.
And he makes those 25-footers with 2 seconds left in the shot clock. He's the master at that.
Yes, and so does Chris Paul.
Right.
So those are going to be the guys with the ball. Who's going to be guarding them? Maybe Tony Parker, Russell Westbrook, Steve Nash.
So you have Chris Paul, Jamal, maybe Tough Juice.
Yep, got to have Karan at the 3. You have
could
Blake
argue
at the 4.
Grant Hill might be out there.
Depending on
If you
the
need
team
defense.
goes small.
If you need defense.
A team like the Heat, Grant Hill would be out there because they're going to play a perimeter-oriented team that may
DeAndre's
start.
not out there because he can't shoot free throws.
Totally.
Here's the thing. Last year they were playing Reggie Evans a lot of time in crunch time.
They
which
were.
Is pretty sad.
Because Blake wasn't making free throws and he had to work on his post defense. For him to be such a great athlete, he has to find a way to contest shots, block shots, and use that athleticism for more than just catching lobs.
The thing that would worry me if I'm a Clipper fan, and I'm a Clipper season ticket holder, but I'm a Celtic fan. The Spurs kind of seem like they figured out something with Blake. The way they defended him, it was just kryptonite for the Clippers. And then it just came down to, all right, Chris, you got to just beat your guy off the dribble in the last 4 minutes every single play because our coach doesn't call plays.
But
I don't know how that changes.
let me
this
see,
year.
who do the Spurs have? They have Greg Popovich,
No,
one
I
of the
know.
greatest coaches of all time. He's going to figure it out.
He worked the Clippers like a speed bag in that series. And
Then
that
you
would
have
worry me if I'm a
Tim
Clipper fan.
Duncan, the greatest power forward, who's been playing center the last 10 years
Right.
of all time. You have Tony Parker, who was all NBA performer,
Did
and
we-
Manu.
Did we pour dirt on the Spurs too soon?
Regular season, they will be there because of what I just mentioned. Until they get another big, and I love Leonard on the perimeter.
Yeah.
But until they get another guy 6'10 or above that can contest shots, block shots, play post defense, take pressure off Tim, that's why they're going to struggle in the playoffs.
Counter theory. 2 years ago, they go against that Memphis buzzsaw. Terrible matchup. Memphis just peaks at the perfect time.
Yep.
Legitimately beat them. But had they not played them, there could have been a scenario where they never played Memphis that playoffs and then just made the finals. So just bad luck there. Last year, Oklahoma City, they win the first 2. They look like they're going to be one of the best teams.
After winning maybe around 20 games in a row.
Oklahoma City wins the next 2, goes back to San Antonio for Game 5. Ibaka and Perkins go like 18 for 20. It will never happen again in our lifetime.
And Cephalosha.
And then the fourth quarter, Durant gets hot and shoots them out. They lose. Now, I would say, so that was, and then it goes back to Oklahoma City wins. I would say the odds of Oklahoma City repeating that specific Game 5 are like 1 in 100. So I'm not sure we should count out San Antonio yet.
Here's what I mean, though.
You're saying they're built more for the regular season.
The Grizzlies still have Zach Randolph 2010 and Marc Gasol, who was an all-star.
Yep.
The Clippers still have Blake Griffin. They still have DeAndre Jordan. Oklahoma City still has Ibaka and Perkins.
Yep.
The Lakers still have Dwight Howard and Gasol. The Spurs don't have another big to play with Tim.
You don't like Matt Bonner?
He's not a power forward or a center. He's a stretch
No,
four.
I know. You're right. They don't. And you're bringing up something that I think is interesting. Everybody's talking about small ball. Small ball is a new thing. Oh, people have to. Meanwhile, it actually could swing the other way. And Zach Lowe wrote about this for Grantland yesterday. You might actually have to worry more about the matching up with Gasol and Howard, and Zebo and Gasol. And if you have 2 guys like that, it is a pretty big advantage because I don't think Miami would be able to play the small lineup against Dwight Howard and Gasol.
And I love your term for LeBron James. You call him a power guard. If you have him, of course you could play small ball because he could play 1 through 4.
Yeah.
But other teams that don't have him and they go against conventional lineups like you just mentioned, that's going to be a problem.
Right. Now, do you think, I don't want to waste this topic on the show, but do you think LeBron peaked as a player last year, or is there still a little room left?
I do not, Bill.
I do not either.
He's been a dog that's been in the house for years and never got a chance to eat table food.
Oh, he's running free outside. I like it.
Now all of a sudden somebody drops some food on the floor. He gets a chance to taste what a steak really is like, well done, and now he'll never eat out of his bowl again.
Oh, I like this. I thought you were going to say they let the door out and he's running around in the yard. Like, woohoo, this is great.
He'll never eat his Alpo again. He's not eating out of that bowl again. All he wants is championships. The feeling that he has right now, finals MVP, league MVP, gold medal, he doesn't want anything but at this point. And I think it's going to fuel him to be better, make his teammates better. And Jawan told me a great story in playing with LeBron James. He says, this guy lives and breathes basketball, literally.
Yeah.
Like, there's some guys that turn it off and turn it on. Even Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade will tell you, I'm a dad.
Right.
I'm doing other things. I have other interests. LeBron tells you, I'm focused on basketball. So he says this guy has the attitude, he want to win every sprint. He want to win every drill. He want to contest every shot. He want to block every shot. He want to have the best conditioning. He want to win everything. So now that he's won it, I think that is gonna really be turned up now that he wants multiple rings.
I totally agree, and I also think that we don't appreciate because he's probably the greatest athlete pound for pound who's ever played in the league.
Yes.
I mean, what he did last year in terms of guarding the other team's best player, running everything offensively, playing 44 minutes a night, playing at the speed that he plays, it's just never happened before.
It has not.
So I think that makes us not appreciate how smart he is as a basketball player and how sophisticated he is. And even like game 6 in Boston, he just came out and he's like, if we're going down, I'm going down with me. And I'm going for myself this game.
That was a classic performance.
It was great. But then, in the Oklahoma City series, he showed us a totally different basketball version of that, which was, I'm getting everyone involved. I'm going to destroy this team in the low post. If they double me, I'm going to find my teammates. And he made everybody around him better. So he played 2 completely different games in 2.5 weeks, which nobody has ever done, by the way.
LeBron James is going to be in an argument when he's done as one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
I think he's like 11 now.
And it's become an urban legend that he can play 5 positions. Let me just stop everybody's train a little bit, pump the brakes for a hot second. And I love LeBron James like anybody else.
He's not playing center.
He's not playing center. So everybody stop saying that.
He's 4 positions.
If he gets stuck guarding Andrew Bynum, that's an accident. Andrew Bynum should turn around and dunk on him.
You know who played 5 positions once upon a time? Jalen Rose. State championship game, Michigan.
I did. How did you know about that?
Because I researched you. Well, I'm on the same team with you. I wanted to find out as much Jalen.
Let me tell you what's
You
funny.
played center.
That was
you did the 1980 Magic Johnson game 6.
That was my Magic Johnson moment.
Yeah.
I was playing in the state championship against Saginaw Pride. Elton Carter, our center, had got hurt in the previous game. Coach asked me to play center the night before. I'm pretty sure he knew Magic was my guy and I was going to have me pumped up. I think I had like 25 points and like 18 boards.
Why is that on YouTube?
That was before YouTube, GPS, and
But
social
nobody was
media.
taping that game?
Actually, I'm going to ask Coach Watson about
There's
that.
a videotape of that game.
I'm
That
pretty
might have
sure
to go on
he has
YouTube.
it.
Jalen's 1980 Game 6 Magic impersonation. And
It
now you're on a
was.
television show with
Classic material. And I'm really excited that we're going to be working with them. I can't wait for us to share some stories and to really talk basketball with Magic Johnson and Michael Wilbon.
It's going to be all very, very friendly until the first Lakers-Celtics game. And then it might not be as friendly. But I promise to be friendly until that happens. I can't promise anything.
I want people to pull up a YouTube clip of a young Bill Simmons at a Celtics game.
There is one.
And the Laker player got injured.
Oh, see, that's not true. I was not taunting. That's not true. I was just an awkward 15-year-old. No, there's after Magic makes the skyhook, Bird misses the game-winning shot by like a centimeter.
I remember a flare pick to the corner.
It was It was a great play. He pushes off
for 3.
DJ throws it. I had a deadline on it. It's straight on. It misses by a hair. Lakers run in the tunnel, and you can watch it on TV. They're running through the tunnel celebrating, and I'm standing there in the tunnel. And I look like my dog just died, my girlfriend just dumped me, and I failed out of school. And I'm there. I'm in a blue polo, and then it cuts right to Magic. And now I'm doing television with him.
Do you think
that's pretty crazy?
It is very crazy. Because
in high school you did an impersonation of him, and now you're doing television.
And I rooted against Larry Bird his entire career.
And then
being
you
a
were coached
Magic
by
Johnson
him.
fan and being a Pistons fan, now I was coached by him, and he helped validate me in the NBA space.
So you're gonna see us on SportsCenter, I guess next week, and then our first game preseason doubleheader, October 26th, Friday.
Very nice.
We're gonna be on TV.
We might have to have a segment called "Don't Take It Personal."
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah, because I think there are going to be times during the year where once in the show that we're going to have to find a way to put a couple of guys on blast.
Here's the thing. I don't give a crap. And neither do you. And that's probably why they wanted us on the show. But I have a feeling some people are not going to be happy this year. Because if that Dwight Howard thing was happening this year and I was on television, I would have been eviscerating him. There would have been no punches pulled.
and he would have deserved it.
Yeah.
That was the second part of that. So it's going to be an exciting year.
Do you think they'll let me film a Traderade commercial with Ray Allen's face superimposed on some
I think
athlete?
they will. That's one of the great things that you're going to be able to bring to our show that I'm excited about is a different level of looking at the game from a different lens and bringing it to the fans the way you've been doing with the BS Report and with Grantland.com.
Do you think they'll let me dress up an actor like Benedict Arnold?
You
and
have
that we
to-
can interview at halftime of Ray Allen's first game against the Celtics?
That's what this is all about.
All right.
Of course.
Okay, good.
That's what this should be all about.
All right, good. Well, we're going to have fun.
Yes,
I'm
we are.
excited to do this.
That's mutual.
And we're going to use the interwebs and Twitter in a couple different ways, fun ways to promote the show.
Absolutely.
And do some stuff. We might even we're thinking about maybe a live streaming 1 a.m. post-game show after one of these doubleheaders.
That'll be very nice.
Jalen, this is exciting.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the BS Report. You can check out Jalen on the Grantland Network. Next week, the Jalen Rose Show will return. And again, October 26th, NBA doubleheader, ESPN. See you there.
So I get to sign off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.